Hello and welcome to the Fulham phone-in. How are you doing? All the reaction to Fulham's 1-1 draw in the opening championship game of the season against Middlesbrough at Craven Cottage. Love to hear your thoughts on what you thought of everything during the game today. 0131 381 1879. But before we get to some callers, I'll introduce my guest today, George Cooper. Hello, George. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Sammy. Would have liked the 3 points, but I think the overall take home is that it's just so good to be back at Craven Cottage. I've missed the place dearly, so although slight disappointment with the way that we conceded, I'm very happy. It was a good day today.
Yeah, it was a really, really nice day just to be back in the ground, a full stadium. It's been best part of 18 months, nearly 18 months to the day, since we were all at Craven Cottage for that game against Preston. It's mad to think it's been such a long time since that. So yes, in a sense, that was very positive. But look, let's get your thoughts today on what happened on the pitch. 0131 381 1879. So this is the second time that we've done the Fulham phone-in. And it's a brand new thing for us, and it only works if you guys call and have your say. So you can have your say on absolutely anything. What did you think of Marco Silva's starting lineup? And Gisa, he looks to be heading off. He wasn't in the side today. What's going to be happening to him? The Fabio Carvalho contract situation, and then obviously just the game itself. I think Fulham were pretty blistering for most of the match today, but we were undone at the end by a late sucker punch. We were totally Neil Warnocked. Your thoughts on the atmosphere? Anything like that? 0131 381 1879. The call is just the same cost as calling your gran on the landline. It's not anything different, okay? You call in, it'll ask you for your name and what you want to talk about briefly. Just say to that. It gives us an idea before you come on. Have your say. And we think we've fixed the phone line quality. We think. We don't know. It's all an experiment. So hopefully you'll be able to hear the callers today, which always helps. Coops, before we go to our first caller, what was your just thoughts on the game? Obviously, yeah, as you say, disappointing. But I thought overall it was very encouraging. It was just, it's just a shame that we dropped the points in the way we did.
Absolutely. We've seen it the last few seasons. We can be really flat-footed for the first game of the season and just, we get caught with our pants down. But I thought, especially first half, it was just so nice to see some attacking football. You see the wing-backs, Tete and Robinson. I think that they're going to be so important for us this season, seeing them blistering down the wings, providing options, providing overlaps. It reminded me of sort of watching Fredericks and the Scotty Malone under Slavisa, and how sort of potent they were for us and how important. It was just really, really good to see. I thought we dropped off the mark a little bit, and then obviously let them back into the game. But overall, I thought, yeah, I think I'm feeling good for the season. And as soon as the lineup was released, I was like, this is a ridiculous championship team. It's so exciting. We've got youth there, we've got pace. We've got, very skillful players, and I just thought it was it was a good start. I mean, the game, I think, screamed 1-1 from the onset. I mean, against the Neil Warnock side, so I'm not overly surprised. But yeah, I think certainly more positives to take from this game than any negatives.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the youngsters. We've got our first caller, should be on the line now. Freddie, hello, Freddie.
You all right, boys?
Yeah, good, thank you. Oh, we can hear you loud and clear, so that's test number one. You wanted to chat about Tyrese Francois and Fabio Carvalho.
Yes, I basically just wanted to say how I thought they made the step up really well, really, and I thought Francois today in the middle was really good. I thought he was zipping passes, to Kenny Tete and Robinson, and he was just, mopping up at times, which I just, thought it was really good. And Carvalho on the ball, he was, looked comfortable, and he was, getting past players like it was nobody's business, really. And yeah, just thought they made an incredible step up, and wanted to see what you boys thought about it, really.
I mean, I thought it was incredible performances. Coops, your thoughts on Carvalho and Francois? You weren't at the Charlton game a couple of weeks ago, but that was, the first glimpses of their quality. But to get the call up on the big stage, Coops, it was certainly a job well done from both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. The main thing
I didn't know if they were going to, both start at the start of the season, but look, again, Championship, especially against a Neil Warnock side, they're very physical. We saw that today, yellow cards being dished out left, right and centre. And, I thought they, played to the physicality, really. They were really good.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, Freddie, what are your thoughts about the rumours going around today about Carvalho's contract situation? Seems like keeps happening with Fulham, that as soon as we get a good youngster that gets into the side, that we've already got these kind of rumours about the fact they won't be staying. Like, it's great that Fulham produce these players, but surely we got to do more to actually pin them down long term. Harvey Elliott, 2 games, gone to Liverpool. There's so many cases of that happening down the years. Moussa Dembele, great for a season, gone.
Yeah, no, we've produced so many great talents, and I mean, it feels like they have a couple games, the fans get excited, and then they're gone. I mean, we can't mess this one up. We have to, if it's about a wage that you're offering that it's not good enough, just bump it up a bit, because we can't lose Carvalho. I think he's a top player, and with a bit more experience, I think he'll do it in the Prem as well. Again, it's happened too often to us, and Carvalho as a player, I really don't want to miss out on, because that kid's something special.
Yeah, he's been playing with so much confidence as well for such a young lad. But I'm not all that surprised about the contract thing, because for me, I can see him slotting in and becoming a squad player for, a top 6 side. The way that the likes of sort of like Liverpool and Man City play, they need these technically very skillful players that can just zip the ball around and, take a touch and link players up. And maybe obviously not starting, but I can see him being a fringe player for one of those big sides. And maybe he's in the back of his mind talking to his agent, thinking maybe we could sort of get a move like that. I heard whisperings that apparently Wolves are after him as well. But I pray we keep hold of him, because he looks something special, and I've got no doubt he can do the business for us this year if we can keep hold of him. That is.
I think the thing with the rumours, though, what's probably important to know at this time, and I think Peter Rutzer on The Athletic said something earlier in his little comment section that he does, is like, I wouldn't read it too much into it yet. Like, I reckon Fulham have just gone to him with a contract, and he said, first offer of a contract. He said no. They probably offered him terms that are a bit more youth level, and his agent's probably going, he's your starting number 10 in the first game of the Championship. Like, pay him what he's worth. Yes, he's 18, but you don't mug him off. I imagine it's probably Fulham just lowballing him. But my worry, Freddie, is that if we piss off agents of these young players, that we'll have another Dembele or Elliott on our hands, and yes, we might get a nice little tribunal fee, but we watch another great Fulham talent kind of go to someone else.
Yeah, exactly. Really, if you piss the agent off, it will go downhill for us there, because if we lose Carvalho, he's been our first, good talent since, we didn't get to see much of Elliott, but Sessegnon, and whether he'll replicate what Sessegnon did for us, we'll never know. But I mean, yeah, it's no good pissing the agents off, really. I think that Tony Khan needs to, put his foot down, basically just don't piss him off with the wage, because at the end of the day, he'll treat him like he's still a youth player and give him, like piss poor money.
I mean, piss poor money. I imagine both you and I, Freddie, would probably quite like to earn whatever he's been offered.
Oh yeah, I'd love it. I'd take it any day of the week.
He's probably getting offered like 10 grand a week. I mean, like, if someone offered it to me.
I'd love that.
Yeah, Fulhamish isn't paying me that much just yet, but we'll wait and see. Freddie, thank you for calling in. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, Freddie. Nice one, mate.
Cheers, lads. Have a good one. See you later.
Cheers. Well, let us know your thoughts on today's game. 0131 381 1879. We want to hear your thoughts on today's match. Things that went well, things that maybe didn't go quite so well. It was a real sucker punch, the way that Boro equalised for Boro, and it was so easy. Coops. Few questions coming in, which we'll go to before we get into another caller. Showtime says, need to get healthy Reed Kearney to make changes. Brian in for Robertson out. Maybe look at the keeper again. I think Harrison Reed would make a massive difference, wouldn't he, Coops?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the player of that quality, and we've seen how important and integral he is to the way that we play, and just he's that sort of like Duracell bunny in the middle, keeping things ticking over. And if he's fit, he plays. No question. Having said that, I mean, there's no guarantee he'll walk in. I thought Onomar was pretty decent today, and obviously we've spoken about Francois and his talents, but it would be really nice to see Reed back in and fit, certainly. And what was the other point he said about Robinson?
He said Brian in for Robinson. I don't know if I agree with that.
I thought Robinson was incredible today, and he's just, he looks so up for it, really keen, making some fantastic runs, putting dangerous balls in, winning corners, making tackles, making back ground. I think, by and large, I thought his display was pretty faultless. So I do obviously love Brian and stuff, and I'd like to see him play a part this season, but I'd stick with Robinson personally after his performance today.
Can I say something about this? Because I've seen a few nibbles on Twitter about this. Louis says, I'm a Boro fan, and Jesus Christ, your fans are absolutely shocking. Right. Can we just put this to bed, right? Look, Craven Cottage is famously not like the best at being able to hear both ends. Like, right, I was sat in the Hammersmith end today. I thought we were okay. It wasn't the loudest I've ever heard the Hammersmith end. And I'm not here trying to say that Craven Cottage is the world's best atmosphere, right? It's not. It's not Anfield on a European night. However, right, I didn't hear the Boro fans once until I think they said this is a library in like the 60th minute. And then I heard them after they scored, because you can't hear either end, okay? Now, whatever. No home fans are great. Middlesbrough very much included, right? But they're trying to come out like they're Fenerbahce. Like you sung when you equalised, fair play. You know, you were on top for that final 10 minutes. And of course we could hear you. You were 1,500 away fans, and you just got a late equaliser against one of the bigger sides in the division. Like, fine. Criticise us all you want, but you guys are not that much better. So it's just really annoying me. All these Boro fans trying to have a go at us today. Just like, whatever. No, we're not trying to claim that had the world's most insane atmosphere. Like, get back in your bin, Louis. Whatever.
In Louis' defence, I was sat in the Putney end, and they gave a decent show, and I thought they were obviously having a good laugh, and it was like good fun. But the acoustics at Craven Cottage are shocking. Maybe the new stand, when it's filled, will have a bit of a role to play. But having said that, is the Riverside stand, so I doubt it's gonna make that much of an effect.
Yeah, perfect. You're in the Putney end, right? You probably can't hear the Hammersmith end. We didn't, like, in the Hammersmith end, I literally didn't hear the Boro fans basically until they scored. Right? It's not the best ground for it. Like, just a bit embarrassing, really. Right, we've got a one of our Kofi backers on video, so we've got Rick with us, who we're going to enter into the stream. Rick, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Rick, how you doing? What did you think of the game today? So just before actually we start with Rick, if you're a Kofi backer for Fulhamish, you're allowed to enter the phone in via video, which is exactly what Rick's done, because we posted the link in our Facebook group. Rick, lovely to have you on. What was your thought on the match today?
I was disappointed, I have to say. I felt like we dominated the first 2/3 to 3/4 of the match, and then just kind of ran out of the gas and let it slip away. And, you know, nice goals, nice shots from Harry Wilson. But,
yeah,
you know, it's a point. It's the first match of the year, but I wanted to see 3.
Yeah, I mean, like, what did you think of that kind of Wilson-Tete combination down the right-hand side? I thought, like, they're going to cause championship defenses all sorts of problems.
You know, I think until we got into the box, I thought we were pretty effective. I just, you know, it's been so long since I've really seen us open up defenses and have lots of really clear open shots at goal. And maybe I'm asking for too much, but yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see how things develop. I think you can't be too negative, because I think we're heading in the right direction and we've got some really solid players. But I just wanted those 3 points today.
I see your point, and I too was disappointed by the way that we, as you put it, just sort of run out of gas. And also another thing that bothered me slightly was, although we were playing some nice link-up playing and, you know, getting in dangerous areas, I don't think we had that many sort of clear-cut chances. I think on the grand scheme of things, Middlesbrough had the lion's share of the good chances. The only one that I can think of is the Cabano header that he fires straight at the goalkeeper. But other than that, we didn't really create that much. Is that a cause of concern for you as well?
I mean, I think it's been like that for the last 2 seasons. So I am concerned, because I'm still living in that experience of us struggling to score goals. But I'm optimistic. I think Silva is going to keep working. We've got some good players up front. And then also he brought in 3 offensive players at the end of the match, which It really shows his intent. I think if the situation had been last year or the year before with Parker, he would have brought on 3 defenders. So I think that things are looking up, but I want to see us open things up more. And I wonder, I love Mitro. I want to see him score goals, but he seems sluggish so far. Last year he never got going. I don't know. I thought a little bit today, particularly after the match, was he's not downing tools. I don't think that's the way he would play, but I wonder if he's just not really up for it, and it's just showing in the way he's playing, or if it's just the first match and just give him time.
I personally think the latter, Rick, with Mitro. I really do think that he will come good at this. I think maybe what we will see with Mitrovic is what I thought was very interesting today was Coops is gone. Clearly I'm boring him to tears. I think what we saw today was a lot of link-up play from Mitrovic, and I thought he did really well coming deep and allowing the kind of faster players to get on behind him and break through. So I think we may see a slightly different Mitrovic this year, who comes deeper, doesn't score 20 to 25 goals. Maybe he's more in the kind of like 15 realm, but actually he'll be pivotal in allowing the faster players around him, the likes of Harry Wilson and Carvalho, to create more. Because ultimately, Rick, when we went up 2 years ago under Parker, we were a one-player team. If Mitrovic got injured, we'd have been absolutely screwed. And I still think Mitrovic, it would be a massive blow to us. But the fact that we've got other goals in the team, particularly Harry Wilson, I think means that the pressure's off him.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think back to some of the goals that we scored last year. Mitro had the assists with them. So I think that is definitely a role that he could play. I want to see us get to the byline more, too. I know that that's something that Silva's emphasizing, that we did some today, but, to get some of those cutback passes from the byline, I think will be really huge for Mitro as well.
Yeah. We were close on a couple of occasions. I think Bobby Reed had one where he was like inches away from, I think, finding either, it might have been Mitrovic or Cabana who was in the box. But yeah, definitely agree. Well, Rick, thank you for joining us. And
thanks.
Peace and love all the States.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care,
Cheers,
man.
Rick. Okay, right. Let's go to another caller. We should have on the line Luca. So let's go to Luca. 1 second. Luca, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Luca. How you doing? Welcome to the Fulham phone-in. What did you want to say?
I wanted to say that we played quite well today, actually. I'm currently on holidays, but I watched the game abroad, but we played well. I just think a lack of concentration lost us sort of the 3 points.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, do you think that this is like something that can be fixed? Are you worried? Or do you think that we're going to maybe see a lot of what we saw under Scott Parker, a lot of kind of missed opportunities and not capitalizing?
No, I'm not worried, to be honest. I think it's a wake-up call, and it will sort of get them ready for the league ahead and sort of how to deal with these sort of situations, conceding last-minute goals, which always happens in the Championship. So, hello.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I sort of glitched out a second there. I was just saying, so you say a lack of concentration cost us. Are you talking about the goal in isolation, or are you talking about the sort of like latter stages of the match in which we allowed Middlesbrough to come in a bit more? How do you mean?
Luca, we're losing you a little bit here. I mean, we were just wondering, what part of the concentration, was it just the goal, or was it the entire kind of like last 20-minute performance that concerned you?
Well, I think it was sort of the last sort of 20 minutes and the goal as well. I think mainly the goal sort of a bit shaky towards the end as well. Especially when Adebayo blocked that last minute.
Yeah, we were definitely a little bit got away with it in the end. A lot of the free kicks as well, which we had to defend late on. What are your thoughts on some of the newer members, Gazzaniga, Harry Wilson? What did you make of their performances?
I think Harry Wilson was solid today. Gazzaniga was good as well, obviously apart from the goal, but there wasn't much he could do to sort of save the shot.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, Luca, thank you for calling.
All right, thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers, mate.
Bye. Right.
0131 381 1879 if you want to get in touch like Luke did or like Rick did. Call up, say what you want to talk about to the little automated thing that comes in, and then we can get you on. It's been good so far. Let's go to a few more of your comments. Latifa Dean, Ream kept making the same play with the same result. Frustrating. I thought Ream was quite good today.
Yeah, likewise. I thought Ream had a solid game. It's weird because like compared his performance today with the first match of the year last season, and it's just like a totally different player. It's almost like he's just so much more at home in the Championship, and he plays with so much more confidence. And I thought he was captain today, wasn't he? And yeah. I would have put him as captain as well. I think he leads, and I thought he had a solid performance, and I think that him and Tosin could be the partnership to move forward. I don't think there was much you could fault him for, really, to be honest. Was Latif maybe thinking about sort of the runs that he sort of break from the back, and then the pass didn't always meet? I felt like the
Middlesbrough striker, and sorry, I've completely forgotten his name and I don't want to butcher it, but he was quite often marking Tosin and wasn't allowing Tosin to go forward. But Ream was just kind of being given the luxury of the pitch, really. But I thought generally it worked. Towards the end, it was getting a bit like, okay, you keep trying the same thing here, Tim, and they've cottoned onto you. But I thought he broke through the lines pretty well here. I mean, this one from Rafikin Sydney, I don't want to hate on Mitro too much so early, but he said, when was the last time we worked with Mitro in the starting 11? Unless I'm mistaken, I think it's West Brom towards the beginning of last season. Like, I'm trying to think of the other wins that Fulham had last year, and I'm fairly sure he wasn't in the starting lineup.
But I mean, that's not down to Mitrovic dragging the team down. It's the fact that Parker wasn't starting him. I don't think you could read too much into that stat, to be honest.
No, but it must be playing on his mind a little bit, because like even the games where he did score against Villa and stuff, we did go on to lose and stuff. So I think it might be kind of playing on his mind. I think he just needs some confidence. And I love the moment today where the Hammersmith end, unlike Louis, who thought we didn't sing anything, we did sang Mitro's on fire, and Mitro responded. So clearly there were words coming out of the mouth of the Hammersmith end, unlike Louis, the Boro fan, who thinks that we just sat there in complete silence for 90 minutes.
I think Louis from Boro is living rent-free in your head, mate.
I mean, he is totally. I think Middlesbrough fans are living rent-free in my head. We've probably got time for a couple more calls before we finish. 0131 381 1879. I think this is a good point from Callum, who says, I think Silva got a decent amount out of Deeney before. Maybe he can do the same with Mitro. I loved how much Silva has been bigging up Mitro. Said he wanted to sign him a couple of times. You do just get the sense that Silva really likes Mitrovic and is not just using him because he feels like he has to, because he's kind of the talisman.
Oh yeah, 100%. And leading on from what you said earlier, I think that we could see Mitrovic become more of a kind of Bobby Zamora type player for us, as you say, integral with the link up, maybe not getting as many goals, but making sure that he puts players like Wilson who can stick it in the mix and stuff. So yeah, I can't see him not starting Mitro.
Yeah, indeed. And Callum also asked, anyone else think Tosin looked a bit off? With Ream, he has moved to right centre back now. I mean, I think he was always at right centre back last year, wasn't he? With Joachim Andersen playing the left centre back, unless I'm completely mistaken, but hard to know exactly. But I thought Tosin looked okay. So it's so hard to read into it, just like one game in as well, isn't it, Coops? I think that's one of the biggest things.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always going to take at least sort of like 5-6 games for you to get an idea of who's in form and stuff. I think first game back, players aren't behind maybe 100% match fit, and I thought he looked all right generally. And I think that Tosin is an amazing centre back to have in the Championship. I think he'll really do well for us this season.
One thing that happened today, Coops, that I was a little bit less than impressed with was some of the substitute performances. I didn't think Cavallero was particularly great when he came on, and Kamara had that moment at the end, didn't he, where he was running through, and we just all knew deep down this isn't gonna go well. Sorry, Abu. I want this to work, but I don't know.
It was a textbook Abu break, wasn't it? Just like absolute gas, bulldozering people out of the way, and you're thinking, yes, he's through. Then he'd take a touch, and like the next pass that comes is just utterly pants, and you're like, how many times have we seen that? If Abu had a good like link up play, like a good through ball on him, then he could be like such a good player. But it's just, we all saw it coming. I think Cav just didn't really have a chance to get into the game much. Came on quite late, so I think it might be a bit harsh to dig him out. I know he didn't have much of an impact, but yeah, it was just one of those games didn't really fit in. Bobby didn't do an awful lot either, but he came on even later, I suppose. Yeah, the substitutes were a bit ineffective, but they were made with logic. I can see why he wanted to bring those players on.
Yeah, and Huddersfield next Saturday, Coops, just before we finish, Huddersfield are struggling, and I think that they are not in the greatest place right now. I think a lot of people got them tipped for relegation. It would be nice to, get that first win on the board at Huddersfield, because I think the longer that we don't get a win, that's always the danger at the beginning of the season. Suddenly it becomes a bit of a monkey on your back. You just kind of got to get that first win, get the points on the board, and then hopefully everyone can relax a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that we missed an opportunity to get the 3 points with obviously Bournemouth and West Brom drawing. And if we're going to be going for automatic promotion, we want to be, from the top from the very start. So just get the points early. And Huddersfield is the perfect opportunity to do so. And we just need to keep that momentum up and keep in that battle, because the second you start slipping around the playoff places, it's like a spider trying to get out of the bath, and it can be quite tricky to climb up. But we really want to be, keeping up with the front three from the onset. Like, you don't want to be playing catch up like we did last time we went up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, it was interesting when we did the documentary up for Fulhamish, when it was 20 years since Fulham won the first division. And, it's not the only way you can get promoted, but it was interesting. We won the first 8 to 10 games of the season, and we were so blistering at the start. And just kind of, the competition was dead pretty much by October. And whilst, Blackburn got into it and there was a bit of a fight for the title at one point, I think when you set your stall out so early, and that's why I think that Huddersfield's game is really important. Then you got Millwall afterwards, who are improved this season. I don't think that's it's, a trip to the Den is never ever easy, especially it'll be the first game back under the lights at the Den. Like, it's not good. I can't wait, but it's also not going to be simple. So I think this Huddersfield game actually now takes on quite a bit of an importance, as much importance as a game 2 games into the season can have. But certainly, I think if we can win, then it would be brilliant. We may have one more call, so I'm just going to go to that in a second. Ravgan Sydney says, any transfer news? Anguissa off, Grimes still in, anyone else? What about Christie, Adoy, Marshall, Kamara also linked? Yeah, I feel like in that last sentence, I feel like a lot of those are going to go. I think Anguissa not being in the side today, Coops, is the clearest indication that he is not staying.
Yeah, absolutely. With the Anguissa, halfway through last season, it wasn't maybe halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way through last season, when it looked like we were, we weren't nailed down, certified relegated, but it was pretty clear that we were going down. There was reports in France that Anguissa said that he's already considering his options for next season. It's like, mate, we're in the middle of a relegation scrap here. Like, you don't want to be giving out interviews saying that you're weighing up. It's just, I feel like he's never ever really wanted to be at the club, and I wish him all the success in his next move and stuff. But I just feel like he never really gave it his all for us, and I think he's definitely, obviously going. In terms of Christie, Adoy, Marchand, I don't really know.
I think Cameron's definitely got some interest from a couple of French teams, but yeah, I think Anguissa looks pretty much gone. Let's try and take one more caller before we finish the phone in today. We should have Ibrahim on the line. Ibrahim, you there?
Yes, I'm there. Sammy, what are you saying? You good, yeah? What's good? Different good?
Yeah, we're good, thank you, Ibrahim. What did you make of the match today? Were you there?
Yeah. No, I was at the match. It was a good feeling. Everything looks so far so good. Just thought I'd share a couple of points, and I thought I'd ask you guys a couple of questions regarding the match.
Yeah.
2 things. Teams at the beginning of the season very, very rarely look similar towards middle of the campaign or the end, and that's like pretty much most teams, especially with injuries and players and young players coming in, and signings are still we're not completed in the transfer window. So I wouldn't necessarily panic about the places about our position.
Yeah.
About the 1-1 draw, but more to the effect of I think people should be happy about the style of play. You can see the patterns of play emerging. You can see the build-up play and what the players are trying to do. Although I know it's only one game in, I think they're going to get better and better at what they're doing. You can see like we're bombing players forward on. Positives are Kenny Tete and Harry Wilson link up looks good. I think it would only get better. Some improvement needed on the left. With Robinson, Brian, and maybe a bit more quality. I wouldn't necessarily panic. On another note as well, a lot of fans were kind of a little bit critical of Carvalho and Tyrese towards the end. But that's what happens with young players because, you've got to rotate them into the starting lineup slowly because the physical, mental stress that a whole 90 minutes in the Championship or the Premier League brings is nowhere near. Obviously, it's on another level comparison to the under 23s or the reserves, which is kind of pretty much like a glorified friendly, with all due respect. Tyrese and Carvalho, I'm sure within time they'll be able to last the full 90. But for now, I think the odd game here and there or slotting them in as super subs should do it. On another note, I think this is a more important part of what I'd let you guys know. Is it time to kind of stop giving? Is it time for Fulham to kind of put an end to Knockout and Cavallero being as starters? Because they've had near enough 2 years of playing for Fulham, and their output is next to nothing. I've just watched the highlights over again, and every time Harry Wilson had the ball, he linked up well with Kenny Tete. He linked up well with Onoma. He had the 2 shots on target. He put Onoma through on goal. He put Carvalho through on goal. So you can see his chances created is very productive. Cabano, is still, there's question marks over him. But me, for certain, I would get Knockout out the door, and Cavallero as definitely as should be demoted to as substitute and nothing more than that, because his output is part of the reason why we're championship contender, championship team now in comparison to what he's done last year. So I'm sick of people kind of giving Cavallero and Knockout chances. They've had 2 years and they've produced very little or nothing. Do we need another forward on the left? I think we have the perfect person. I think his name's Joe Bryan. I would love to see Robinson left back and Joe Bryan left wing. I think Joe Bryan can play that role. Yeah. Good point. Actually, that's a very, very good point. And then with Carvalho competing with Kenny and maybe someone else, Muniz and Mitrovic up top, kind of, and Harry Wilson on the right. Yeah, that seems quite suitable. But it's just that I thought I wanted to know what you guys' opinion on the youngsters, Tyrese and what's it called, and Tyrese and what's his name? Carvalho. Yeah. Well, did you guys notice towards the end that they start to get tired and the crunching tackles from Neil Warnock's side were they're starting to get to them?
Look, I mean, Carvalho obviously made that mistake, Coops, about 2 or 3 minutes from the end, and I mean, it could have cost us. It was very, very dangerous. He was clearly flagging by that point, wasn't he?
Yeah, and it's just about the worst, apart from inside.
It's good to hear that. I wouldn't necessarily panic. I know some of the Fulham fans, a few of them. I know the overwhelming majority of the kind of feedback on Twitter has been positive, and no one's kind of pressing panic buttons over a 1-1 draw against Middlesbrough. But one thing for certain is you can see the pattern of play, you can see the creativity, you can see that we are building something special here in comparison to Parker's football, where things were just stale and he needed Mitrovic to bail him out more often than not. I think Parker's got a harder job, and I don't want to switch to Parker. I know with the marriage is over, but I think he'll find it harder in Bournemouth than he anticipated originally. That's what I think, and I think he's in for a lot more trouble than he thinks he is.
I fully agree. Well, Ibrahim, thanks so much for calling. Lovely to have you on the show, mate.
Cool. Thanks, Sam. See you. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thanks,
There was a moment there where I thought Ibrahim potentially wanted to actually kill Anthony Knockaert.
Put an end
to Anthony Knockaert. I was like, oh God, this is going darker than I thought it was. But actually, no, he just wanted to put an end to him in the starting lineup, which made a lot more sense from Ibrahim there. But there was a scary moment.
Can I just say on one of Ibrahim's points about how we played, and it was really encouraging to see, even from the first match, we had a clear plan. We had a strategy in place. You know, we had fullbacks knowing what they were doing. We had like the clear link up play. We had everyone knew their role, and there was a clear game plan, which is can't be said for majority of, I feel, matches last year and under sort of like Parker tenure. So I think that
the game plan was keep it tight and hope someone scores a worldie. That was
with Parker.
Basically the crux of it. Occasionally, with the whole right wing back, there was a moment where I was like, oh, he's actually thought of an idea here. But yeah, I mean, it was just so nice today to see refreshing, fast-paced, vertical passing football under Silva. And I think, look, result aside, I think we don't need to worry too much about results one game into the season. I think we need to be looking at performances. I think it was encouraging. Little mistakes like the defensive lapse at the end that allowed Boro to equalise will happen. Middlesbrough are going to be there or thereabouts in the playoffs. We will play much worse teams than Middlesbrough this year. Good luck to them, although their fans need to come down off their high horse. Apart from that, good luck to them. And I always think...
Let it be, Sammy. Give it a rest. Come on.
I always think Warnock side's always competitive, and I'm sure Middlesbrough will be this season as well. Well, thank you so much for getting involved with the phone in today. We've loved having your calls on the game today. Do give us some feedback as to what you think of the video format. We're still kind of working on it as a concept. But yeah, I love hearing just few different voices after the game and hearing your opinions. So yeah, thank you for jumping on the phone if you did today. Coops, any final thoughts before we finish?
Just so good to be back at Craven Cottage and back. It felt like normal service was resumed today, and like the whole sort of past 18 months are kind of, from a football perspective, was just it felt like no time had passed at all. And after today, despite the 1-1, I'm feeling really optimistic for the season and very much looking forward to getting back out there. So yeah, thanks everyone for phoning in. Oh, this has been great, by the way. I'm very much looking forward. I love it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just the unpredictability. You don't know who you're going to get on the line. It's
live.
Thank you so much for all your calls. I hopefully will look to do something similar after the Huddersfield game. So have a good rest of your week. Podcast dropping Tuesday morning, I believe. I've got myself, Jack Collins, Drew and Ben on the pod. So it's a decent little lineup there.
Star lineup.
For the podcast this week. So hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend and come on you Whites.
You Whites. Cheers. Thanks everyone.